So imagine this. A really well-known teacher is asked to give some, profound spiritual teaching.
Okay.
But one of the monks who's supposed to teach is, well, hesitant. He doesn't want to.
Ah, interesting. A reluctant teacher?
Exactly. And then, plot twist, this reluctant monk comes up with this amazing, really interactive way to teach the deepest truths. That's kind of the setup for our deep dive today.
Right. We're going to be unpacking the Nandakovādasuttaṃ. It's this ancient text detailing a really fascinating teaching session.
Led by Venerable Nandaka for, 500 bhikkhunīs, nuns.
That's right, 500 of them.
And our mission here is really to pull out the core insights, not just what he taught, though that's important.
But maybe even more crucially, how he taught it, the method itself.
Yeah, and the impact it had. So you, listening, should get a kind of shortcut to understanding some key Buddhist ideas through these really memorable analogies and, well, just a great story.
And just to be clear, everything we're discussing comes directly from the excerpts we have of the Nandakovādasuttaṃ itself.
Okay, so get ready. We're diving into perception, reality, liberation, all through this Q&A format that honestly makes some complex stuff feel surprisingly straightforward. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So where does it all begin? The setting is Savatthi at Jetavana, on Athapitika's monastery. Pretty famous place.
Indeed. And you have Mahāpajāpatī Gotamī, the Buddha's foster mother, actually arriving with 500 bhikkhunīs.
And they go straight to the Bhagavan, the Buddha.
And they ask him, quite simply, could he please arrange for someone to instruct and advise them, give them a Dhamma talk?
Seems like a standard request.
It was. It was customary for the senior monks to take turns doing this.
Okay, but here's where it gets interesting, right? The Buddha turns to Venerable Ananda and asks, whose turn is it?
And Ananda reports back that, well, all the other senior bhikkhus, the monks, they've done their turn.
But
Venerable Nandaka, he's unwilling. He hasn't done it and apparently doesn't want to.
Huh. Any reason given why he was reluctant?
The text doesn't explicitly state why he was reluctant initially, just that he was.
Okay, so despite this reluctance, the Buddha doesn't just let it go.
No, he addresses Nandaka directly, basically commands him. Nandaka, instruct the bhikkhunīs, advise the bhikkhunīs, give a Dhamma talk.
He repeats it 3 times, essentially.
Yes, and after that direct instruction from the Buddha himself, Nandaka agrees. Yes, venerable sir.
All right, so Nandaka's got his orders. What happens next?
Well, after finishing his alms round, getting his meal, he heads over to the Rajakarama, which seems to be where the nuns were residing or meeting.
And the bhikkhunīs see him coming.
They do, and they immediately prepare a seat for him, get water for his feet, the customary signs of respect, and then they sit down nearby, ready to listen.
But Nandaka doesn't just launch into a lecture. This is where his unique approach comes in.
Exactly. He says, sisters, this is going to be a question and answer talk.
Which must have been a bit different.
Probably. He lays out the rules. When you know, just say, we know, venerable sir. If you don't know, say, we don't know, venerable sir.
And crucially,
if you have any doubt, any perplexity at all, you should ask me. Just say, how is this venerable sir? What does this mean?
Wow. So total participation encouraged? How did the nuns react to that?
They were delighted. The text says they welcomed this interactive approach. They were pleased with the prospect.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Why do you think this Q&A format was so important here? What did it achieve?
Well, I think it moves beyond just passive reception of information. It forces engagement, self-reflection.
Right, you can't just zone out. You have to actively consider the question and your own understanding.
Precisely. It sets the stage for them to discover the truths for themselves, guided by his questions, rather than just being told.
So he starts digging into the core teaching, right? Impermanence, anicca.
Yes, that's the foundation. And he starts with the senses, the internal sense spaces.
Things we experience constantly, the eye, the ear.
Exactly. He asks, sisters, the eye, is it permanent or impermanent?
And they answer,
impermanent, venerable sir.
Okay, logical first step. Then what?
Then he asks, now that which is impermanent, is it pleasant or is it painful?
And their answer,
painful, venerable sir.
That's a key link in Buddhist thought. Impermanence inherently involves unsatisfactoriness or suffering, dukkha.
It is. And then comes the really crucial question. Is it proper, is it fitting to regard what is impermanent, painful, and subject to change as this is mine, I am this, or this is myself.
And the answer is a clear
No, venerable sir. A resounding, consistent no.
And that no is huge, isn't it? It's pointing directly at non-self, anatta, undermining that core illusion of a fixed me.
Absolutely. It's the bedrock. And Nandaka doesn't just stop at the eye.
He goes through all 6 internal senses.
Yes,
Yeah.
the same pattern. Ear, nose, tongue, body, and even the mind itself. Impermanent, painful, not self.
And the bhikkhunīs answer the same way each time.
Every time. And they add that they've already seen this clearly with right wisdom. They aren't just guessing. They feel they already understand this.
And Nandaka acknowledges this.
He does. He praises them, saying, yes, this is how an Arya Savaka, a noble disciple, sees with right wisdom. It affirms their understanding.
So internal senses covered. Where does he go next?
He mirrors the process for the external sense objects.
So forms for the eye, sounds for the ear.
Exactly. Odors, tastes, tactile things you feel, and even mental objects, thoughts, ideas. Same questions. Permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
Painful or pleasant?
Painful.
Right to regard as mine or self?
No. And the bhikkhunīs confirm this too.
Yes, consistently. They saw the impermanent nature of the external world just as they saw it for their internal senses.
Okay, internal bases, external objects. There's one more piece, isn't there?
The link between them.
Consciousness.
Right. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, and so on.
He applies the exact same inquiry to the 6 types of consciousness that arise dependent on the sense base and the sense object.
And again,
the bhikkhunīs confirm. Impermanent, venerable, sir, painful, not fit to be regarded as self. So what's the effect of this really methodical, almost relentless questioning? It seems repetitive.
I think the repetition is precisely the point. It's not just about getting the right answer once. It's about embedding the understanding deeply.
Like really internalizing it across every single aspect of experience.
Exactly. It guides them to personally recognize and integrate this truth of impermanence everywhere, in everything they perceive or think. It becomes a lived reality, not just a concept they heard.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But understanding concepts like impermanence and non-self can still be pretty abstract. Did Nandaka offer anything to make it more concrete?
Oh, definitely. He uses some brilliant analogies to really drive the points home.
The analogies? Let's hear them.
First up is the oil lamp.
Sure.
He says, think about an oil lamp. You've got the oil, the wick, the flame, the light. Are any of these permanent?
No, obviously not. The oil burns down, the wick chars, the flame flickers, the light depends on them all.
Precisely. He points out it would be totally wrong to say, well, the oil, wick, and flame are impermanent, but the light itself is permanent.
Right, that makes no sense. How does he apply this?
He links it to feelings vedana. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feelings.
Okay.
Just like the light depends on the impermanent lamp components, our feelings arise dependent on contact between our impermanent sense bases, like the eye, and impermanent objects, like a form.
So the feelings themselves must also be
Impermanent. They arise and cease along with their conditions, just like the lamp's light.
That's a good one. What's next?
The tree analogy, similar idea, different image.
Okay, a big tree.
Yeah, a large, strong tree. Think about its root, its trunk, its branches and leaves, even its shadow.
All impermanent eventually. Trees don't last forever. Shadows definitely don't.
Right. And Nandaka says, you can't possibly claim that the root, trunk, and branches are impermanent, but the shadow is somehow permanent and eternal.
Of course not. The shadow depends entirely on the tree and the light source.
And the application is the same, but this time linking to the external objects. Feelings that arise because of seeing a form, hearing a sound, tasting something.
These feelings are also impermanent and conditioned, like the shadow depending on the tree.
Exactly. It just reinforces that all our experiences, all our feelings are tied to these transient, interdependent conditions. Nothing stands alone or lasts forever.
These are helpful visualizations. But you mentioned another one, maybe the most striking.
Ah, yes. Here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit graphic. The butcher and the cow analogy.
Okay, intrigued. Tell me about the butcher.
He describes a skillful butcher, or maybe a butcher's apprentice, who kills a cow and wants to separate the hide from the flesh without damaging either.
Right.
The butcher uses a very sharp knife. The inner flesh represents our 6 internal senses, eye, ear, mind, etc.
Got it.
The outer hide represents the 6 external objects, forms, sounds, thoughts, etc.
Okay, hide outside, flesh inside. What's between them?
That's the key. Between the hide and the flesh are the connecting tissues, the fat, the sinews, the tendons.
Right.
And the butcher, with that sharp knife, carefully cuts through only these connecting tissues.
So he separates the hide from the flesh cleanly.
Yes, and Nandaka points out, even if the butcher then puts the hide back over the cow's carcass, is the cow truly covered by the hide in the same way it was before? Is it fundamentally connected?
No, it's just lying on top. The connection's been severed.
Exactly, and that intervening stuff, the fat, sinews, tendons that get cut away that represents delight and lust or nandaraga, our attachment, our craving, the sticky stuff that binds our inner world to the outer world.
Wow. So the attachment is the connective tissue and the knife.
The sharp butcher's knife is noble wisdom, Paññā.
So wisdom is what cuts the bonds of attachment.
Precisely. It's noble wisdom that severs the defilements, kilesa, the fetters, sangrahana, the bonds, bantana, that tie us to the cycle of suffering. It separates our sense of self from the world we perceive and cling to.
That is an incredibly powerful image. It makes the process of liberation seem so deliberate, almost surgical.
It really does. It emphasizes that liberation isn't passive. It requires the active, sharp application of wisdom to cut through deep-seated attachments.
Okay, so he's used Q&A to establish impermanence and these vivid analogies to illustrate attachment and the role of wisdom. What's the next step in the teaching? Where does he guide them?
Well, after illustrating the problem, impermanence, suffering, attachment, and the tool for cutting through it, wisdom, he explains the active path to cultivating that wisdom and achieving liberation.
Which is?
The 7 factors of awakening, the bhikkhunīs.
Ah, yes. Central to Buddhist practice.
Very central. He explains that developing and cultivating these 7 factors is what leads directly to the ending of defilements, the asavas, and ultimately to untainted liberation of mind and liberation by wisdom.
Right here, right now, in this life.
Yes, tīhavadam in this very life. That's the promise.
So what are the 7 factors he lists? Can you remind us?
Sure. He lists them as, first, sati, mindfulness. Second, dhammavikaya, investigation of phenomena or analyzing reality.
Okay.
Third, virya, energy or persistence. Fourth, piti, rapture or joy. Fifth, passaddhi, tranquility or calmness. Sixth, samadhi, concentration or unification of mind. And 7th, upekkha, equanimity.
Mindfulness, investigation, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. It's a comprehensive toolkit for the mind.
It really is. And he emphasizes how each one is developed, dependent on seclusion, dependent on dispassion, dependent on cessation, and resulting in relinquishment.
So it's not just about mechanically practicing them, but doing so with the intention of letting go, moving towards liberation.
Exactly. They are the active cultivation of the mental states that allow noble wisdom, that butcher's knife, to do its work effectively. They build the inner conditions for insight to mature into full liberation.
Okay, so that seems like a very complete teaching for day 1. Interactive Q&A, core concepts, powerful analogies, the path forward. How did it end?
Nandaka finishes the instruction and dismisses the bhikkhunīs for the day.
And they go back to the Buddha.
Yes, they report back to the Bhagavan. And this is where another fascinating part of the story unfolds.
What does the Buddha say about how the teaching went?
He observes them and remarks that they were clearly pleased with the teaching. They appreciated it, but he says they were not fully accomplished in resolve. Something was still incomplete.
How does he illustrate that?
He uses a metaphor. They were like the moon on the 14th day of the lunar cycle.
Meaning nearly full, but not quite. Waxing gibbous?
Exactly. Bright, well on its way, but not yet perfect fullness. Their understanding and resolve hadn't reached completion.
Interesting. So what does he do? Does he suggest a different teaching?
No, and this is really key. He tells Nandaka, go back tomorrow, Nandaka, and instruct them again with the very same instruction.
The exact same talk, word for word.
That's the implication. The same questions, the same analogies, the same 7 factors, and Nandaka, again, agrees, yes, venerable sir.
Why repeat the exact same thing? What's the thinking there?
It suggests that the issue wasn't the content of the teaching. The content was perfectly fine, profound even.
So the issue was depth of absorption,
Yeah.
integration.
That seems to be it. Like the insights needed more time, another pass, to really sink in and transform their state of mind completely. Repetition for deeper embedding.
Okay, so Nandaka goes back on day 2.
Yes, the next day, he delivers the entire teaching again, exactly as before. All the questions, the nuns give the same answers, he uses the same analogies, explains the bhikkhunīs again.
Must have felt familiar to the nuns.
I imagine so, but they engaged with it again.
And after the second identical session,
They go back to the Bhagavan once more.
and this time, what's his assessment?
This time his assessment is completely different. He declares they were pleased and fully accomplished in resolve.
Ah, and the metaphor.
Now, he says, they are like the moon on the 15th day.
The full moon, complete, whole, perfectly luminous.
Precisely. The teaching had now fully landed, fully integrated.
That's remarkable. Just one repetition made that much difference. But there's an even more specific outcome mentioned, isn't there? Something about their attainment.
Yes, and this is perhaps the most impactful detail of the whole sutta. The Bhagavan states that out of those 500 bhikkhunīs who heard the teaching twice,
Yes.
even the very slowest, the very last one among them in terms of progress, had attained Sotapaddi,
Stream entry, which
means they had entered the stream leading irreversibly to nirvana. They were guaranteed not to be reborn in lower realms and were destined for full awakening within a maximum of 7 more lifetimes. They had broken the first 3 fetters.
Wow. So even the least accomplished nun achieved this profound, irreversible breakthrough just from hearing this teaching twice, interactively.
It really speaks volumes about the effectiveness of Nandaka's method, the combination of interactive Q&A, clear explanations, vivid analogies, the path factors, and a power of repetition for deep integration.
So pulling back from this story, what are the big takeaways for us from this deep dive into the Nandakovādasuttaṃ?
Well, first, I think it powerfully shows that insight into reality, especially impermanence and non-self, isn't just an intellectual idea you nod along to.
Right. It's a deep transformative realization.
Yeah.
Something that has to be seen, not just thought about.
Exactly. And Nandaka's method really highlights the value of personal inquiry, being asked questions that make you look at your own experience, and also the sheer effectiveness of re-engaging with core truths.
That butcher's knife analogy sticks with you too. Noble wisdom actively cutting through the attachments, the Nandaraga.
It does. And then the 7 factors of awakening aren't just a list to memorize. They are presented as the practical, active path you cultivate to make that liberation possible.
And for you, the listener, maybe grappling with information overload, there's a lesson here too, isn't there?
I think so. This ancient story suggests that sometimes deep learning and real change don't come from constantly seeking new information,
But from going back to the fundamentals.
yes, from returning to core principles, asking the questions again, engaging actively, letting the understanding deepen and settle until it genuinely transforms how you see things. It's about depth, not just breadth.
Less skimming the surface, more allowing insights to really sink in, getting to that full moon state of understanding.
Precisely. So maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Consider the power of that repetition and active engagement in your own life, your own learning. We're always chasing the next new thing, the latest update.
Sure.
But what if true mastery, or maybe even profound personal change, could come from revisiting something fundamental, some core truth or skill you already know?
You mean coming back to it with that fresh, interactive mindset Nandaka encouraged?
Exactly. Asking the questions again, maybe in a new way. What old knowledge might you benefit from revisiting, really digging into again, to achieve your own full moon of understanding or integration? Something to mull over.